I start my training professionally in Riga in Latvia when I was 11 years old. Then, at the age of 15, I moved to Leningrad, and I was introduced to this famous man, a magician, Alexander Pushkin. And this man just made me as a dancer. Nothing special was about him. It was a very quiet man. Father figure for us. It was 7 or 8 students in class. Well, obviously he was the best teacher in the school, and he had the privilege to select the best material from all over the Soviet Union. He was Nureyev's teacher. His students are dancing in every big theater in the world. And I met this man, and here I was, 15 years old. He just looked at me and said, well, let's go downstairs and a sort of medical center and see who are you? And just what your legs, arms, and the head about, and just look at me, and I did a few steps, and it was just like to selecting a puppy from the litter, you know, who will crawl away, who will crawl through, who will bark, who will bite. And he looked at me again and again. Just we spent a couple of hours just to look at each other, to talk to each other, you know, in the room like that, you know. And I said, well, I can dance for you. He said, no, I don't need it. It's not a point. What's the point? Take me to the class. Now, for God's sake. Inside, I said, I was sweating and I was nervous because it was the chance of my life. And then said, well, all right. I mean, I think it's a good deal. And he said to the lady, the school secretary, whatever she was, just, I'd like to have him in my class. And I spent with him 3 years in the school and 3 years in the company before he died.
Misha was accepted into the Leningrad-based Kirov company in 1967. The company school where Pushkin taught preserved a meticulous classical approach to the dance that dated back to the days of the Tsars. But it was not only ballet skills that Misha learned from Pushkin.
Every day, what I think was the most amazing and the most valuable thing, what he teach me, besides all this nonsense about technique and how to dance, just to respect to the physical work, like everyday routine, sometimes boring routine, awfully boring and exhausting, because every day you feel different. Some day you have a cold, some day you have sore back, or some day you don't want to do anything, just sleep. But to go in a class and try to convince yourself you like this job, and if you're not taking class or you're not sweating enough, you're not working enough, you start to hate yourself. You start to really feel terrible. It's a kind of guilt trip if you're not spend 3, 4, 5 hours every day in the studio. And I think that's the secret. He introduced me to the work. That means and explain how you have to work. Everything else is easy. How to do double tour. It's not a problem for any dancer. It shouldn't be any problem, I would say. I would put it that way. But to be a master of your own, it doesn't matter who is coaching you, teaching you, and give you suggestions, who is your partner, who is dancers around. You have to be a man of your own mind and know what you are doing and why you are doing it. And this man, I don't know how, and all his students are very much their own people. They're strong mentally. The dance is something else. Besides that, he was genius. It's just the eye was right on. What's good, what's bad.
In 1969, the eyes of the entire dance world were on Misha. At the age of 21, he won the gold medal in the international competition in Moscow. He was a celebrity. But he began to find the Kirov repertoire rigid and restricting. Modern choreographers from the West were out of bounds. Dancers, even the stars, performed infrequently and were given few new parts. They had little chance to extend themselves within the system. In 1961, Rudolf Nureyev had left Russia. In 1970, Natalia Makarova did the same. In 1974, Mikhail Baryshnikov followed their example. While the Kirov company was touring in Canada, he decided to remain in the West.